Here's a quick update to the possibility of Russia using SpaceX Starlink in the war. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much once again joining me for tea time today. We have a little bit of fireside. So good, so good. I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee, hanging out, talking tech, talking photo, talking video. Today is a technology day. We're going to be talking about or giving you an update about the possibility of Russia using SpaceX Starlink in the war. So I want to get into this a little bit with you. I talked about this on Friday. And when I did, there was nothing out there. There was like one or two articles and that was it. Well, over the weekend, this thing is just blown up. All right. There is like every news media organization talking about it. And I was reading an article over on, I think it was Newsweek. I want to read some of that to you and then once again give you my commentary as I always do, and then give you an update of what's going on with this whole idea that Russia is using SpaceX Starlink on the front lines in Kiev over in the Ukraine. So let's get to it. Before I do, I want to say that if you haven't downloaded any of my ebooks, pick them up. They're free. Go to JCristina.com/books. Also, if you enjoy this content, as I always say, throw it a thumbs up. That'd be very helpful. Subscribe if you're not. If you are, thank you very much. Click this little button over here so when I go live and when a new video comes out, you'll be notified of it immediately. And if you want to say thank you for all of my hard work, there'll be a little thank you button down here. You can click on that, give $1 or $2 if you like. If not, that's perfectly fine. Consider becoming a member of the channel. That would be even better. So let me get into this Newsweek report, and then I'll give you my commentary and what I believe and do not believe. And hopefully some of this will give you more information on what could be true and what might not be. The article starts out by saying a number of false reports claim that SpaceX is selling Starlink terminals to Russia. Musk said in a statement on X on Sunday, quote, "This is categorically false. To the best of our knowledge, no Starlinks have been sold directly or indirectly to Russia. California-based SpaceX owns and operates Starlink, the world's largest network of satellites that sit in low Earth orbit to provide internet access to its users. Ukraine has used Starlink extensively to conduct reconnaissance missions, collect intelligence, and carry out drone strikes in the nearly 2 years of full-scale war with Russia." Military and weapons expert David Hambling told Newsweek on Sunday, quote, "It's a key capability for the Ukraine," meaning SpaceX Starlink. Reports published last week that Russian soldiers operating in the Ukraine were using Starlink for operations against Kiev. SpaceX said it is not operating in Russia or work with Russian authorities. But this raises questions about the use of Starlink terminals in Russian-controlled parts of Ukraine and how Moscow's troops would have access or have acquired Starlink terminals. Keyword, acquired. I'll get into that in just a second. On Sunday, Ukraine's military intelligence agency said that it has evidence that Russia was using Starlink to access the internet in Moscow-held areas of the country. Okay. Quote, "There has been recorded cases of the use of these devices by Russian occupiers," a spokesperson for Kiev's GUR told the Ukrainian outlet RBC, an article published on Saturday. "This is starting to take a systemic nature," they told the outlet. "Troops with Moscow's 83rd Assault Brigade are using Starlink to access the internet," the GUR said in a separate statement. SpaceX has repeatedly said, quote, "It does not do business of any kind with the Russian government or its military. Starlink is not active in Russia, meaning service will not work in that country. SpaceX has never sold or marketed Starlink in Russia, nor has it shipped equipment to that location," If Russian stores are claiming to sell Starlink for service in that country, they are scamming the customers. If SpaceX obtains knowledge that a Starlink terminal is being used by a sanctioned or unauthorized party, we investigate the claim and take actions to deactivate the terminal if confirmed. Images circulating on social media, quote, appear to support GUR's claim that Russia is using Starlink terminals inside of occupied Ukraine. This is what Hambling said. Russia's defense ministry did not respond to the Newsweek request for comment, like they really would. SpaceX has also referenced reports that Starlink terminals have ended up in Russian hands via intermediaries in the Middle East, specifically Dubai. Quote, Starlink cannot be purchased in Dubai, nor does SpaceX ship there. Additionally, Starlink has not authorized any third-party intermediary, reseller, or distributor of any kind to sell Starlink in Dubai. Earlier this month, Defense One reported that Russia was using a number of Starlink terminals across the front line, citing an unnamed Ukrainian source. Quote, when they have hundreds, it will be hard for us to live, the source said to the publication. Two Ukrainian government sources told Reuters that Kiev had detected Russian Starlink use in the Kremlin-controlled territory. So I want to give you a little bit of an update of what's going on, reiterate what I said on Friday, let you know what Elon is saying here, and then get in a little bit deeper into this so we get an idea of, is this happening, is it not? Yada, yada, yada. So Elon Musk, about 17 hours ago now, stated this, quote, a number of false news reports claim that SpaceX is selling Starlink terminals to Russia. This is categorically false. To the best of our knowledge, no Starlinks have been sold directly or indirectly to Russia. So the question is, do I believe that SpaceX Starlink or Elon Musk is selling Starlink satellite service or terminals to Russia or its military? I would say no. On the other hand, do I believe that the Russian military are using Starlink on the front line in Kiev? I would say yes, they are. So it sounds contradictory, right? Well, it's not really, because if you think about this, let's say the town is being overrun or is being occupied. A specific town is being occupied by a military, Russian military. Well, whatever that's in that town is basically the military's possession at that point. That could be food, that could be automobiles, it could be any type of computers, anything in that region is basically at that point military owned or Russian owned. So if the Russian military rolled heavy into a town in Ukraine, and there was a Mercedes dealership there, for example, and they found a whole bunch of G-Wagons, okay, $250,000 G-Wagons, and they commandeered those G-Wagons, and they started using those vehicles to supply either ammunition or maybe food to the front line. Does that mean that Mercedes is somehow part of the war or helping Russia or anything in this nature? Somehow in cahoots with the military organization, the military of Russia? No, absolutely not. Those vehicles were commandeered. Well, the same thing holds true here with SpaceX Starlink. If the military finds at a home or a business or any location a SpaceX Starlink terminal, and that terminal is still working, do you think that the military is not going to use it? Of course not, they're going to use it. Now, is it going to be working in perpetuity? No, because when you stop paying the bill, what happens? It's going to stop working also, and I don't think that the Russian military is going to keep paying the bill. So do I think that this is happening? Absolutely, I do. But do I think that Elon Musk or his company SpaceX or Starlink is implicit in doing it, in actually providing it? Absolutely not. You have to understand also, like I stated in my Friday's video, you can check it out over here, SpaceX knows exactly where any terminal is that is operating. I mean, pinpoint exact. And I told you on Friday that the dish actually has 4 components in it that are very important. Number one, it has a gyro, so it knows where it is in 3-dimensional space, right? Where it's pointing. But it also has an accelerometer, so it knows if it's moving and at what speed it is moving. It also has GPS and a motion detector. Motion detector is if it's doing this kind of thing. But GPS is very important. It is built into it. So with GPS, SpaceX Starlink will know where that activated terminal is within a couple of feet. I mean, literally a couple of feet. So in my last video, I actually took a look at the exact location that my terminal thinks that the dish is located. I put it into Google Maps to see if it was accurate, and it was within 12 feet of being perfect, precise. So if they wanted to drop a bomb, for example, on my Starlink dish, I would be dead because it's literally about 20 feet away from me. It is simply that accurate. The longitude was exact. The latitude was off by 1/10,000th of a point. 1/10,000, literally within 10 feet. So understanding that, we also found out that you can turn GPS off using the application. Now, if the Russian troops have that application, they could turn GPS off. Now things get a little bit sketch because the terminal now uses the satellites for triangulation to know where that terminal is located. Now that's going to make it a little bit harder, and instead of 12 feet, maybe you'll have 50 feet or maybe 40 feet from where that terminal is being activated or used. But does that really matter? And I would have to say no, because knowing that it has this information built into it, so even if you did turn off the GPS, it still would get or garnish data from the satellites and triangulate where it is located. SpaceX could turn off, let's say, a football field of area and just shut it off. Any terminals within this area will no longer work. They can do that. But obviously, they're not going to do it on the front line or in Kiev, where SpaceX Starlink is currently working, because that's not going to be very easy to be able to pinpoint and turn off all of these locations. Can it be done? I would have to say yes. But how about if someone was in one of those locations that actually need it for humanitarian purposes, because it is in an area that has had service all of this time? Once again, contrary to what you heard in mainstream media, where they said that, oh, Elon Musk turned off Starlink before the Ukraine were going to go and blow up some ships using drones and using Starlink to now, let's say, direct those drones, that was all a bunch of nonsense. He basically did not turn on Starlink in the area once he found out they were going to use it to go blow it up. Not that he shut it off. It was never on. The same thing holds true here. If the service is available in a certain area, all right, and the Russians commandeer a Starlink from, let's say, taking over a town just like they would a G-Wagon, well, SpaceX Starlink is not implicit in this, like I said before, just like Mercedes isn't. Their vehicle or their satellite receiver was commandeered. It was taken by the Russian troops. That's it. They don't have control over that. So anyways, I think that this is a non-issue issue. It's one of those things that media just blows up out of proportion. And that's one of the reasons why I did that video on Friday, to tell you exactly what is going on before all of this happens. And that's exactly what happened. Literally over the weekend, this thing exploded. You can find like every rag, every news organization across the damn planet talking about SpaceX Starlink somehow providing these dish to Russia and Russian military to go against Ukraine. I mean, give me a frickin' break, okay? But this is what sells newspapers. This is what mainstream media on TV does. They just blow things out of proportion. Anyways, I hope some of the information that I gave you is helpful and gives you a little bit better understanding of what's possible and not possible, and helps you to make the decision. Do you think that Elon Musk is selling terminals to the Russian government or to the Russian military, or do you think that he's not? Do you think that Starlink is being used by the Russian military in Kiev, or don't you? You know my opinion. I want to know yours. Down below, let's have this discussion. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, like I said before, throw it a thumbs up. That'd be awesome. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools I've invented for you and me over the many years. And hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me and my family. Don't forget my merch and my teas and all the rest. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the next one. Love you all.